Larry Fink, CEO of Blackrock, which is the world's largest asset manager with over $10 trillion in assets, sold another 7% of his stock this week. This article is coming from You Today. Blackrock CEO sold monstrous personal stake. According to a securities filing released April 20th, 2023, Larry Fink sold almost 7% of his stake in BlackRock shares, with the average price of $694.36, equaling roughly $25 million. Now, he wasn't the only one that sold shares. A senior director also sold shares in the amount of 3,000 shares worth $2 million. Many analysts notice that Fink typically sells his shares before a major recession event. If you go back to the pandemic, he aggressively sold roughly 91,000 shares before the stock market tanked. However, 1 week ago, Fink claimed that he was not expecting a big recession to come. Let's listen in on
the counter argument
conversation.
To people like you who say that we're going to have sticky inflation for a really long time is that if we get a big recession, that does cure inflation. So are you saying that you're not expecting a big recession in the U.S.?
I am not expecting a big recession in the U.S. We have to offset that. We have three giant fiscal stimuluses that were created in the last 2 years that are starting to enter our economy. That's the infrastructure bill. That's the CHIPS Act and the IRA. The culminated of those three bills are $1 trillion of stimulus over the next few years. Think about how many jobs infrastructure creates. Think about the demand for commodities as we build infrastructure. And so yes, you're right. We have some sectors of the economy are starting to weakening, but we are going to have other segments of the economy because these tremendous fiscal stimuluses are going to offset some of that. And that's just beginning. Those stimuluses are just beginning to enter the economy right now as other components are slowing down. So, no, I don't see a big recession. I'm not even sure we're going to have a recession in 2023. We may have it early 24. It really depends on what is the pathway of inflation in the short run, what is the pathway of the Fed, and also, more importantly, how does this all play out in terms of credit and credit spreads, and what is that impact on regional banks and other asset owners?
Now, on Wall Street, the smart money tells you one thing and then does another thing. Why is that? Well, if they want to buy something, they have to sell it to someone, and that's usually us as the retailers. If they want to sell something, we have to buy. So typically you want to do the opposite of what Wall Street says. Now, I have never looked at the BlackRock chart, and that's what I'm going to do right now. And as I usually do, I'm going to start with the monthly chart. And my eyes gravitate to two things. We have this monthly downtrend line. I see a pivot high. I see buying pressure, pivot low. So there is a major resistance support band at the $600 round hold psychological number. I also see some resistance at the 760 level. You got a wick here, wick. That's selling pressure. All right, let's go down to the weekly chart. We have a gap at 600 that has not been filled yet. We have sideways action. However, in the last couple of weeks, price has been moving higher. So short term, you have upward momentum in a sideways market despite the monthly downtrend line. So let's go to the daily chart. As I mentioned on the weekly chart, you can see price is respecting the short-term uptrend. Price gapped up above the 200-day moving average, which is the yellow line here. You have the 50-day moving average crossing over the 200, which signifies a death cross, which is bearish. However, you have the 13 and the 26 simple moving average pushing higher. So you do have moving averages serving as support. You also have a short-term uptrend line also serving as support. There is no trade setup at the moment. I would not look to do anything until price continues to move higher to the monthly downtrend line. You have a shorting opportunity at this resistance level at roughly 775. If price breaks down, look for price to close this gap at 600. This is the October lows of 2022. Very interesting chart, but there are no setups at the moment. However, fundamentally, since Larry Fink sold, I would be inclined to sell along with Larry Fink, as he just signaled a crash is coming in the stock market. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Please like the video.